I've got to be honest, when I watch videos, right, I do just skip past the intro. So I am considering just going straight into the videos, but it feels a bit rude to do that. So hello everyone, welcome to episode 8. This is going to be. I want to quickly touch upon a few things to do with coaching. Before we get started on this, I wanted to make it clear that I'm talking about principles as in the principles of play and my principles of how I want my team to play. And then also I'm adding in bits of what would be classed more of the game model and playing philosophy, where I'm going into a bit more detail. But when I'm talking about principles and stuff like that, I just want to say that before we start here. Right. I want to touch upon a few things to do with some of the football specific stuff we've been talking about in the series so far. Obviously, I'm making a conscious effort to cut down some of the videos so that they're not too long. And the main reason for it isn't that it's got nothing to do with like viewer retention or anything like that. The main issue for me is making sure that I have the time to keep uploading consistently. If all my videos are like an hour plus long, it's going to make it very difficult for me to upload like every day. So around 30 minutes means I can do it like really frequently. So, and I think that works better. I'd rather do that than do like one video every 3 or 4 days, and then if something happens, it's going to be a week, and then it just spirals from there, right? So it worked a lot better, I think, for me being able to do it. So I hope you understand that. Those of you that watch my channel for a while are probably a bit surprised at the length of the videos being a bit shorter, but that's the main reason why. It means that I'm doing it in a way that allows me to be consistent, and I think that's the best way forward to go. So that's the main reason why. So obviously doing that, I'm cutting around different bits. I might be explaining something right. I might go into 1% more detail, but in that 1% of more detail, I've also repeated myself a bunch of times. So I've just gone, right, let's just get rid of that. So hopefully it has all sort of made sense as we've gone through to everybody. But I wanted to just go over a couple of things before we get into the games in today's episode. We talked a bit about the difference between like a fixed pattern in a game and just general principles, right? It's quite a big distinction to make between the two. I think De Zerbi spoke about this recently. They asked him or somebody recently about his patterns of play, and his answer was, I don't have any patterns of play. We have principles, which is totally different. So that's what the Zubby was saying. He was saying that he doesn't have patterns, he has principles. And we spoke about it briefly in the last match where we had the principle of width, right? And that's what I want to get into today. So when we look at this, the principles of play, right? When you do your B license, even your level 2, and it's quite standardized across different football associations across different countries. They might have slightly different terminology. They might separate it out a bit differently, but largely it's the same across multiple countries here. So you've got principles of play. So we've got attacking principles of play and defensive principles of play in the top box over here. We've got, for attacking, we've got penetration, create space, movement, support, and creativity. And the technical components below that are the things you'd focus on, especially in coaching. Because penetration, create space, movement, support, creativity. All these things are very, very important, especially the top 4, because the last one, it can depend, I guess, a bit on your preferred style of football. Okay, I'm going to use my team setup to make this as clear as possible from the team that we're familiar with in this series. Okay, so penetration is trying to get the ball through the defensive lines, focusing specifically on the defensive line itself, like the main defensive line. So in my setup here, the players that are most likely to be the players that make the penetrating runs and penetrate the defensive line are going to be the two sort of like number 10/number 8, and then maybe the striker as well. The wide players it could be anybody in the front 5, but usually we're trying to get the ball played into the wide player to isolate the fullback 1v1 and start creating that overload of, well, really, we're trying to create it so it's a 2v1 here, aren't we? We're trying to make sure that he times his run to get past the pivot player, he gets into the space and overloads his player 2v1, or at least forces him to make a decision, because obviously if he then comes across and tries to deal with the CDM, it starts to open up lovely gaps in here that we can then try to exploit via different routes, a bit like that. So in the tactic that we've set up, we've been trying to do in this series so far, the concept of penetration is coming really from here. That's our penetration is there. That's what we're looking to do anyway, right? That's the first thing. So these two players are the point of emphasis for penetration. Now, create space. We have to create the space to be able to penetrate, right? That's really important. And that's why I like my wide players to be nice and wide. The danger of having them so wide is that they can be not involved in the game, right? For long periods of time. And they're less of a threat for if there's a quick turnover in the middle. If we win the ball in the middle, and they're wide, they're a lot further away from the goal, and it's not quite as easy to get those quick transitions and then counter. And also, if we turn over the ball and they're spread out like this, that's two players that are completely taken out of the game for any counter press or helping anything like that. That's why a lot of more direct teams, you see a lot more narrow when they play football because they turn it over. They have players closer together for those transitions. What we're trying to do is create space in here, in the half space. By him being so wide, it creates more space here, or it can do. And if it doesn't, if the fullback decides that the priority is to defend the half space, like a team is playing against my Leeds team, they've studied us, they've done the analysis, and they're like, right, okay, they like to use the half spaces, we're just going to try and block them off with the fullback. That's fine. We don't care about that. So don't forget, right, in the principle of create space, it's not just width from the wide players or whoever it is. We'll get into that in a second. It's width along the defensive line, as close as we can to the defensive line. And the reason is for this exact scenario that if they're dropped off, right, if they're not on the defensive line, if the white, let's just say the 7 goes inside, right, let's say the 8's made a run or something over here, and the 7 has got the ball, he's driving inside. I don't want the 2 to just be here, right? What I want him to do is to try and be on the defensive line if he's going to go. And the reason for that is that if they do condense the centre and they do stop us doing what we want to do, that's fine, but we have to have a second solution. And the second solution is that you try and get a wide player on the outside of the defensive line, which is really important on the outside of the defensive line and not making a run like trying inside here. Be on the outside. So you can do one of two things here. Either, if they go really narrow, you can play the ball on the outside. Like if it's maybe like this on the outside, and then it's going to be a race between 2 and 3. And as long as the 2 gets his first touch safely towards goal, they're going to be shoulder to shoulder running through, and he's going to get a shot away. And that is really important for timing of the pass. So drawing this player in as long as possible before releasing it, and without losing it, of course. And then making sure that the 2 is wide, but making his run aggressively towards the centre to take a good touch and get through. So we've got an alternative. If they do block off our half-space runs, we then use the width and go on the outside. But we're going on the outside to then go narrow towards goal. What I don't really want to see is the 2 out here, the 7 there, and the ball then gets played up to this point here, because now that's a lot less of a dangerous scenario for us. If I'm the defensive team and that's what's happened, we've been overloaded and they've played wide there, I'm happy with that. Nothing is ever 100% in football, but the chances are that's a much better place for you to defend the attack from than if he gets the ball in a scenario where the ball is played and he's taking a touch straight through on goal there. And the defender then is in trouble trying to get the right angle to defend. That's the whole reason that we want to keep the width and it being on the defensive line, is so that the wide player can still be a threat and be a penetrating run. So that blends really well, or synergy was one of the UEFA tutors' big words. The synergy of all of that is really important. So the penetration can create space, and then creating space can create penetration opportunities, right? It's all sort of intertwined. And the most important thing is there's got to be aggressive runs into the half space or movements into the half space, and you've got to have somebody in a wide zone that's as close to the defensive line as possible. Obviously, I'm not going to ask my number 2 to go, right, the attack's in here too. Just make it a casual 35-yard sprint straight at the pitch as fast as you can. Like, it's not going to be doable all the time, but that's the principle. That's the idea. It's not a hard rule, like, you must just be there at all times. Like, he will know in my team that that's what I need him to do there. And, like, if the 7's on the ball, and it looks like he's about to lose it, right, he's struggling, it's clear he's about to turn it over, like, I want my players to be free to make decisions that, like, okay, he might lose the ball here, so I'm just going to hesitate a little bit before I go. This hasn't really got anything to do with what I've been talking about, but if that scenario did happen and he did go early, you'd be talking to your players in training sessions that, like, okay, worst case scenario, he's gone early, we've lost the ball, what do we do here, like, to the defensive line? And what it would probably be is that they just shift across and compact to defend the centre, so that's a big thing for me. Defending the centre of the pitch is obvious, but lots of players get sidetracked, like with runners and players. So for me, if you look at these 3 zones here, it would be trying to make sure that you defend it as close as possible, and then be having all 3 of them like that side of the line, at least until the attack is developed. If they attack on this side, the one part of the pitch that I'm going to leave open is this side. So yeah, that's how you combat that as well if you turned over the ball. But we're not going to turn over the ball because we're focusing on winning possession because we're good at it. But there's always a bit of a session that I like to focus on. Okay, what if it goes wrong? So the players know what the initial reaction and plan B to the scenario should be if all else fails. Mourinho used to do a lot of sessions, or not a lot, but like more than the average coach, about playing with 10 men, which, again, same sort of principle of coaching for what if it goes wrong? What if the plan goes wrong? But obviously he's talking about his overall match plan. And also, it can work the other way, right, with creating space. It could be that the winger starts high and wide, everybody's across here in this sort of position, and the fullback's marking him really tightly. And it might be that while he's high, he then drops to create a bit of space away from the fullback to get on the ball. Does one of two things, doesn't it, here? Either he's going to create the space that he needs so he can turn on the ball, and I'm very big on this, and you see a lot of academy football. As the ball's travelling, they're already shifting, they're able to receive on the back foot, and they're already facing forward to the player. And then as soon as the player's pressing them, they're just going straight past them, right? You've got some really good technical players at the moment in the UK with good young academy players. For me, yeah, creating space is important because if he follows you, it gives you an opportunity to potentially beat him 1v1 tight, and then you're away. But if he's really tight and you can, that's fine, because what's that just left here? It's left a massive space into the channel. So it could be then that when you play it back to the 2, if he's coming up, the 8's now going to try and drive in here, and then you get in. And it's creating space now into the half space in the wide area, in the wide zones, right? You're just creating space by just him dropping off. Another concept of creating space is creating space for other players, not just yourself, right? So it could be something like, we've got our setup here. The number 4 gets on the ball from a pass here, sort of draws the 10 in thinking he can win it. As that's going in, the 5 maybe drops off a tiny bit. The ball goes back to him. Then we get some like pressure on him. Now 10 starts to drop off. And all this is doing here, right? 8 starts to pull wide and it attracts attention of this one. And then all we're doing here this entire time is trying to get this, right? Trying to free up completely a pass straight into the 9's feet. And now all of a sudden, we've got players running and in support. So it might be like you make movements and players are creating space to create space and creating passing lanes into the striker. Another one could be here where the ball goes back and the number 10's got to try and create a bit of space for himself. He might start off a bit close to where the midfielders are. So as the ball's coming across, as the 2 takes a touch inside, the 4's going to come across, try and get on the ball. The 3 then starts to move up. Like in our system, that's what he does. He goes into this sort of space here. Then when the ball gets played into the 4 and he receives it, hopefully on the back foot a little bit, if the 10's trying to come in here and press, what we try and do is get the ball across. And then the 10, while this is all going on, has to try and create a bit of space for himself. If he stays where he is, he's just going to get marked by the 4. So what he didn't try and do is try and get himself out into closer towards the half space. So as it goes across, the opposition have got a massive problem because he's now created a bit of space for himself to get onto the ball and create loads of damage. Even if the 7 starts to come across, then we know we've got the player on the outside. So yeah, trying to create space for yourself and others is really, really important. Yeah, and the last one then, touching upon a bit of create space and movement. It could be something like the striker drops off, centre-back sort of follows him as the ball's travelling, as it goes into here. He then controls it and lays it off to the 8 who's rushing up, plays it into him. And then while those 2 have been moving, the number 7's been running on the inside. And as the centre-back steps out, he's created a bit of a gap, goes straight through. He's beating the fullback on the inside, and he's through on goal. Again, not like a fixed pan, but it's just a good concept of if the striker drops to get on the ball at any point, the centre-back's got to make a decision. Does he go or does he stay? If he goes tight, that's when you want wide players or central midfielder. Somebody has to then exploit the space, right? So if he makes movement and creates space, that's going to lead to an opportunity for penetration. So if you look at the little diagram in the corner, the movement of the player helps us create space, and then creating space with the movement allows us to get some penetration. And that's just from the number 9 doing that. I've seen it a few times with us in this situation, but the wingers are not the players that are running through that gap. It's usually one of the central midfield players that are the ones that are running through. I think in FM so far, when we've seen it, it was something really similar to this. And by the way, this is the strong side, that's the weak side. So the ball's come out this side, we played out to the right. Let's say it's just come out here. This is the strong side, that's the weak side. The reason it's called that is the defenders have got most of their players this side. But, I mean, we're fine with that. I don't mind us attacking the strong side. Like, I think Pep mentioned a few times that he likes to combine passes then to attack the weak side if they can't get through. But so, like, some of these combinations here are only really like a disguise to try and attack really that other half of the pitch and around these areas here to try and get quick overloads on the far side and that kind of stuff, right? That's the concept of shifting the team around. But because we're Leeds, we aren't having teams sat back against us. We don't need to almost do this as often because teams aren't really sat back against us anyway. They're trying to go for us. But anyway, support is really important, right? Behind the ball. If the number 2 plays the ball to the 7, right, and he makes no effort whatsoever to support the play, he just stays back. And we have half space run, but they defend it decently well. They've now got pressure on the 7, who's now over here. And if the situation looks a bit like that, that's now a real big problem. He's got no support, really, because if he turns the play back to the 2, if he tries to play that pass, the 10 is close enough now where he can get to that ball. So that does not help us at all. Like, 10's really in a dangerous position for the 2. Now, the 7's basically 4. So they've won this battle, really, this tactical battle, because now they're in control. 7 is going to be forced to do something here. So he can try and force the pass into the 8, into the space, but what's likely to happen is if he plays it, is that the defender is just going to get himself like shoulder to shoulder with the attacker, and they're going to win that. And it's going to be really, really difficult to time a pass so well that he's going to be able to get it anywhere in here, and the 8 gets it first. Like maybe he could play it like flat, like out here for the 8 to come and get, but then we're still not in that great of a situation. Even if we can do that, not only that, right, but like even if you play it, what's likely going to happen here? Because the 11 is so close to the 7. Once we play it into the 8, if we try to do that, the 3 is just going to go immediately because he doesn't need to worry about the 7 now. And they're going to have, well, look, you can see here from the numbers, we're just not in a good position now. If, however, we have a bit of support, right, on this attack, so let's just have roughly where they were. Let's say that's a scenario, right, like that. But the 2 now is, let's say he's a lot higher, he's up here supporting the play. The difference is massive between these 2, right, because if he's up here, and even the 10 starts to follow a bit, if the 7 decides that actually he's going to use the 2, right, if he decides he's going to play in here, as the 2's moving up, we're going to be having our number 3 coming here. And then all of a sudden, this is where we get them, because from having a tiny bit of support in the attack, we can go to the 2. The 2's then going to try and get the ball through to the 4. He's going to try and make a movement on it. Then the 8 can't really afford to engage him, because if he does, the 9's here. And then if they need them to do it, we're just going to go to our left back now. And now we've got a 3v2. So we've gone from the strong side and progressed it across to the weak side. And we've got a 3v2 here. And if he doesn't, and if, like I said, if the 8 wants to go and engage, we're just going to have like a player straight through 1v1 at goal. That's absolutely fine. We'll take that. And even if he doesn't go through, he's going to have the 8 now making runs of support. So having the support from the players in the attack is really important. And support can be in the final third, and it can be deeper in the build-up. You know, this is sort of like entering the final third, but also in the middle third. If the attacking team are doing what the defending team want, they're obviously in control of the situation, which they could have been there. But with a bit of extra support in the attack, we're able to it wasn't even recycling, right? A recycle would be that we go back and we have to go all the way around. And then by the time we get around, it's going to end up being the same sort of scenario because they're all going to shift across. It wasn't even a recycle. We just created the attack. We just attacked them on the weak side very quickly and incisively. And the other kind of support is supporting, obviously, players in attack. So that we're in a bit of a counter-attack. The ball gets played through to the striker. He needs support, and that doesn't just mean run forward. He needs support from players that can actually help him. So if this is the scenario here, he gets the ball played through, I'd be hoping that number 8 is trying to get up to him to try and support him, to try and get the ball off him. We want support, I guess, on the ball, essentially. So he's close enough where he's on the ball. Support on the ball. Then we've got some support around the ball. So it's like the next player up, and then support away from the ball. Players coming in at the far post to attack the far side. Support is really important, both in terms of being able to sustain and maintain attacks without having to recycle dead possession. That's really important. And then being able to support the attack, obviously. Like if you're defending really deep, making sure you can get support up to your players in the positions that you want. I've covered all of this, but not clearly. I've just sort of spoken about it, right? I've just talked about width. Players having the winger isolate the fullback, the player running behind the half space. Like I've kept it quite basic in terms of I'm just telling you what I'm looking for my players. I haven't really gone through it in this sort of detail, but hopefully it makes a bit of sense. Obviously, you're not expecting players and units to do all of these things all of the time. It's like a concept, right? Like some managers might really value the concept of delay. Some managers would want you to delay when necessary, but usually they might just want you to try and press and win the ball as often as possible. It depends, right? Like the best defenders are able to do the correct ones in the correct scenarios. That's the best defenders. Press is really easy. So the concept of delay. So it'd be a situation like this. I don't know what's happened, but like a lot of players aren't back defended at all. We've got a lot of these players have got themselves caught high, but we're outnumbered here a little bit. It's like a 4v3 as they're attacking, and the concept of delay is just trying to not delay the inevitable. It's not quite, but you're trying to delay the attack as long as you can. In a scenario like this, trying to press and win the ball is very, very risky because if you try and press it and you don't get it right, it's a guaranteed chance on goal, right? It should be. This is a time to delay. So as he's dribbling with it, trying to get through towards goal, we're just going to narrow off and drop as much as we can, as quick as we can, to stop any penetrating runs in behind, anything easy towards goal. We're just going to try and delay them, not dive in, delay. And because as we're doing this and we're slowing the attack down, it's giving time for our players to sort of come back and help. And what you're hoping for is by the time they then try to execute the attack, that when they try and play it across, they'll play it across to the 9 here. As he goes across, he's trying to run in. But then all of a sudden, by the time he gets on the ball, we've now got a whole back, full back. We've got players coming back, and we can get back and support the defensive line. So that's a concept of of delay. How that relates to our team is obviously with the pressing, we're trying to press very high, we're trying to win the ball as often as possible, and we're trying to get 2 players to press the defensive line. I mean, the delay only really applies to us, really, if we get caught exposed, which we can do from time to time. So it's important for me that when we are clearly outnumbered, though, in the defensive line, they are applying the concept of delay. So with that, we could look at like ease off tackles, something like that, close down less for the defenders. And that's why I like to have holding fullbacks. Press isn't just about team pressing, it's about pressure on the ball as well, right? So like if there's no pressure on the ball, everything's dangerous. Because if there's no pressure on the ball, you can get caught by like having a well-timed run played straight in behind as he runs through. I mean, it'd be probably deeper than that when it would happen, but you have to get pressure on the ball. Even if you don't want to be a high-pressing team, always the concept is you want to get out as quick as you can, and then make sure you decelerate on the approach. We'll get into that in a second. But anyway, pressure on the ball. And then this player's cover. Now, what does that mean, though, in terms of cover? If he's covering the 3, it means that should mean that if the 3 gets beaten, he's able to cover him. So if you're flat with the player that you're covering and he gets beat, you ain't now going to get back to him. So you're going to be sort of diagonal to him in some form, depending on the situation. I mean, different players will be different levels of diagonal, I guess, but they'll be definitely not flat with the first player. So if he gets beaten, depending on the player and the situation, it might be that the 6 now goes straight out to essentially go and engage him there. It might be that going back to the delay concept, that if he gets beaten, if the 3 gets beaten easily, that the 6 decides that, okay, I'm going to have to now cover him and engage him, but I'm going to delay him and he's going to come towards me in a lot more narrow position before I go out and engage. Because obviously if he goes out and engages him in the wide zone, he's leaving this completely unprotected. But you might wait till he gets a bit closer to the goal so we can try and engage him in a slightly more narrow position, giving every opportunity for the rest of the team now to come and help out as well. But again, that's a bit of a choice for the manager, and that would be more like a tactical concept, but players make their own decision as well. And then the balance is away from the ball. Okay, well, cover compactness and control and restraint is the same thing here. We'll cover them both together. I focus quite a lot on the horizontal compactness more than anything, because I like my team to be very, very compact on the strong side, and I'm happy to leave the weak side very weak. Like, it's a balancing act, right? It's a spectrum. Some managers, you might prefer to have it a bit more balanced out, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm quite an extremist when it comes to this. I much prefer having a very, very compact team on the ball side. What that does is it means that even as a weaker team, like defensively compared to the team in possession, you're very likely to have them outnumbered on the ball side. So if they try to force their way through, it's going to be very difficult for them to just bully the way through. They're going to have to work to get their attacks. They're going to earn their attacks against us, basically, is what we're saying. The downside, right, though, is if they're able to switch it, we've got to be very, very quick at getting across to stop the attack from happening and being able to delay or whatever we need to do. So let's say it goes back here, right, and it gets pinged straight out to the 7. As soon as it gets pinged out to the 7, as that ball's traveling in the eggs, it's going to take time to go up, down, over, and then land. When it does that process, while that's happening, the 3, wherever he is, should be like gunning to go out straight away. But if he sprints out and doesn't decelerate, he's just going to get beaten, right? You've got to have restraint, because against good attacking players, you're going to get beaten if you're not careful about being in control. You've got to be in control of the situation. So he's got to try and make sure he gets across and slows down. While he's doing that, everybody else is going to be shifting across as well. And then we should be fine. But that's just something that the coaching point for the opposite wide players, the 11 and then the 3, depending on, it could be them playing out, it could be further up. They've just got to be very aware of that. And if the attack is built up a bit later and we're really compact over, so they've got the ball, I'm not going to put everybody up there, we'll just put like the front 3 maybe. They can just have that. It's just making sure that if the scenario is something like this, and they've got, let's put a 10 there as well, that if we are being really compact into the ball side, that you've got to be checking your shoulders, because there's always going to be somebody outside you. So the 3 has to be really careful that he's always going to end up with 2 players, and making sure that he knows where the 7 is and if he's making runs and all that kind of stuff. You can overload certain areas defensively if you want to, but you've got to be aware of where the weaknesses are going to be and balance them out and minimize those risks as much as possible. I think it's about that, right? That having your preferred style is absolutely fine. If you're just going to play it no matter what, that's fine. Being aware of the weaknesses and minimizing the risks, though, of those concepts is really important. Yeah, I just wanted to cover some of the principles of play and how it's sort of relating, how the if we call them like the principles of play, the principles of football, how some of these principles are applying to our team in Football Manager, how that's applying. Like within that, you have your own principles, your own values. They talk a lot about principles and values on the coaching courses. The roles and responsibilities of each player out of possession might change slightly depending on how the shape matches up. So there might be some matches where those two players on the defensive line, it might be that it's a striker and a winger, and it might be that it's a striker and a central field player. It depends who it is, right? The roles and responsibilities can change depending on a little bit on the formation, but generally, we have the striker and one of the central midfield players. They're the two that go and engage the back line. And then after the sort of the pressing, I guess one of my few like hard rules, I guess, is we need to match them up in midfield. So essentially, do not get overloaded in central areas by the opponent. So if they've got three in midfield, which they likely will in some form, but we're going to try and press the back line with two players, so it could be the 10 and the 9. We need to make up a third player in here. But we also like to have a +1 in defence, so it makes it very, very difficult for how you're going to do it. But I'm not going to go through it loads, but yeah, you know what the rule is here. It's going to be essentially that as that player starts to jump out, this player's going to shift across, and the opposite wide player is then going to move across. We need lots of horizontal compactness to make sure that this can work. That allows us to... The horizontal compactness allows us to press high. It allows us to maintain the numbers in midfield. And it allows us to get pressure on the ball right. It allows us to do all the things we want. If we don't have the horizontal compactness, if the 10 goes across and the 8 is nowhere near the player, if he's not compact and nowhere near the 10, it's just obviously going to be really easy for the 8 to get on the ball and then get away. Also, I haven't really touched upon defending in our own third. I want us to press as aggressively as possible. Once they beat the press, I don't mind us now defending in a structured shape. The only thing I like to maintain is the vertical and horizontal compactness doesn't change. That still stays exactly the same. Again, like I said, a bit of an extremist when it comes to the compactness, being very, very compact, leaving this slightly more open on this side here, being aggressive on this side. And the most important thing for me is fullbacks don't get left 1v1 in a completely wide situation. So if the winger's back, that's great. Nobody else has to move. If the winger isn't back, it depends on the formation we've got, right? But if we've got two pivots out of possession in the match, it's easy because the pivot on that side is going to look to protect him and help him out on that side. The other one comes across and the 10 can sort of just stay where he is. I don't want the wingers to have to feel like they have to get back and, you know, double up every time, but I'd rather them try and make an effort to get back. One for this, like if the ball's on the far side, let me get this out the way actually. So one for this scenario here where like if the two of us overcommit a bit too much for whatever reason, that he can get back last minute and head anything away. I don't want him to go and sit and play in the back five though. He can sort of just be defensive, but as the further the ball goes, the further he's going to end up getting back for any crosses to the far post. But then as soon as we clear it, get out of there. I don't want us being back in a 5 and being too defensive. So that works fine if you've got two pivots. If we're playing just with one pivot in the system, if it's something more like this, it gets a little more difficult, right? Let's say the 11 isn't back, the winger doesn't get back to the player. There's a few different ways we can go about this. It could be that 3 goes out and the centre-back is aggressive in the cover and then it ends up with the 4 having to drop into defensive line. And if he does do that temporarily, these two can drop. That's one way of getting around this. That's absolutely fine. Another concept, and if you think about the roles in FM, that's a tracking winger. That would be a dropping DM. If that's the way we want to approach it, that would be like a dropping DM. The difference would be, though, that I'd be asking my players to do this depending on the situation rather than do this every time. Because for the 4, football isn't always an organised game, right? It could be that the 8 has made a run, and this time the 10 is really close to him. So they're essentially now like a double pivot. 4 doesn't really need to do anything. He doesn't need to react to this. He can stay where he is. Everything else is looking absolutely fine from his perspective anyway. But if the 8 makes that run and the 10 isn't there, and the 6 isn't moving, we have now got a slight problem with the 3. So either the 4 is going to have to start. Well, obviously, he would see it earlier than this, so I'm assuming he would see it earlier and he'd be moving across already. But we'd have to make sure we get across in a position where we can cover the 3 and also try and affect the 8, at least temporarily, until the 10 can get back and support, right? Again, some of this isn't like you just do this and stay there. It's like it's temporary. It might just be that the 4's here to sort of prevent the 2v1, and as they dribble up the pitch, he's just going to go with him. And then while this is happening, the 10's recovered, hopefully sprinting back quicker than the attackers are getting forward. Yeah, I'm not trying to cover every single thing. I'm just trying to cover the things that are going to appear in the series, essentially, right? That's what I'm trying to do here. Okay, I've taken a look at the fixture list. I think what we'll do, we'll play Liverpool and we'll play Brentford in today's episode. And then in the next episode, I'm going to skip these 2 matches and we'll come back for Liverpool and United. And then within this episode, we can start to look at players we're going to buy, players we're going to sell. And then in the episode after that, we can start to look at actually buying the players. What we might do is do a January transfer window episode where we skip through the matches, I just do the transfers, and then we finish off with the game against Arsenal as like the last game. Okay, so Liverpool going to play most likely a 4-2-3-1. They might change to 4-3-3 in the match. Their possession formation is going to almost definitely be a 4-4-2. That's their expected tactic and team right there. A lot of pace on the right-hand side of that team. Expected tactical style is going to be control possession. I think after the last match and the great performance, we're going to go the same thing exactly again, although I haven't updated the tactic. It's 2 shadow strikers, isn't it? Yeah, some of you asked if I can upload the tactic somewhere. I think I will do at the end of the series, like once this sort of series is finished, or at least when the tactic is complete. But for now, you can just copy down what I've got. That's the current setup in terms of the 2 formations. If you want to screenshot that, there is your in possession instructions. There is your out of possession instructions. The analyst has got the team exactly right. We'll say pick up where we left off. Yeah, we'll say that to the lads because we played really well in that last one. They're playing 4-2-3-1, so we don't need to do too much with the actual out of possession formation. It's already set up to play against this, isn't it? We've got the offset striker, got all the players coming across here. So Chiesa's got it. So can we try and avoid? Okay, so this is it right there. This is the principle working. So because we can't predict every single formation that the other team is going to play, and we can't predict where the players are going to move. Football is a lot more chaotic than that. So the principle is don't leave the fullback 1v1 if we can. So they've got Chiesa who's drawn him out. There's the gap between the fullback and centre back, right? This gap has developed the exact gap that we tried to create, and Anton Stack has gone in there and covered the player exactly what I would want him to do in that. And he's won the ball. I'll tell you what, lads, just round of applause for the lads. They're applying the philosophy and the principles of play that we have perfectly there. So I love that. Okay, we're going to play from the back here. They've got their 2 players pressing. Okay, so now I'd like us to try and switch to the weak side. Okay, nice. In fact, I need to get onto a proper tactical cam here because we need to see the scenario, don't we? Right, okay, so we switch it. So here, okay, we've gone straight into the centre. That's fine. Can we get in here? Okay, no, we're going to go in here. We've got overload. We've got player on the far side. There was a 2v1 temporarily. I don't know why he's dropped off there. But assuming what we're doing goes into the box, it's going to be a corner. Okay, Liverpool have the ball. So do we have compactness over the strong side? We do. They've currently got 2 players offside, which if he plays this, I mean, why would you foul him there? So Dominguez, what are we doing? Basuma heads it away. They're going to continue their sat. They've got Chiesa here. So he's 1v1. So we need to, okay, so Stack is going to come across. Is he going to cover? Okay, good. He got there late, but he was trying to get there. So that's the important thing, right? The concept is thinking about the press cover balance stuff. So we've got the press on the pressures on the ball. Where's his cover? Right now he has no cover. If he gets beaten, they're through on goal. There's 0 cover. Anton Stacks decided to come across and help him. That's exactly what he should do. He did it a bit late, but that's fine. We forced the scenario where the player had to cross it, really. We felt like he had to cross it because Stack was there. And I just want to go back to this goal kick, actually, and just see how this actually played out. It looked quite direct after the play out. Let's see. So they've gone with like a 4-man press, essentially, here. We go straight through to Stack. That was easy. We're going to go into the right back. And then what happened here is it goes across the pitch pretty quickly. So Henrique gets it. It goes to, well, now is he going to do like a big switch? Or was, no, okay, Ribiero's got it. I mean, this is pretty, okay, maybe it wasn't so quick. That's fine. I mean, this is good. This is good playing out. Very weak from Liverpool, this. Dominguez, you got loads of time. You got, oh, I could have found him then, couldn't he? Leaf Dave, Leaf. Let's go back to Alisson. Let's see how quickly we can initiate the press here. So we've got our like 4-4-2 kind of shit right now. So who is that there? We've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin and we've got Basuma. So that, okay, that's interesting. So this is my striker and my central field player. They're both pressing the back line. We've got 2 players in the back line trying to press the back line. Their 2 pivot players are completely free though. So it looks like that once they get into their 3-2 shape, we're not picking up the players very well. As Chiesa goes through, we'll just have to watch that, I think. I mean, like even there, no, Chiesa's going to get a shot away. It's going to be blocked though quite easily. And Baldanzi has just cleared out the pitch. You could have done something better with that, Baldanzi. Well, he's got away with that, to be honest. Like that, I would not be applauding that on the sidelines. Can Liverpool play through to the striker. We've got loads of pressure in around the ball. Are they going to play it wide? Stack wins it. Oh, he doesn't get to it though, and they're going to go in behind to the wide player. Right, he's 1v1. The team should know by now that he cannot be left 1v1. Do not leave him 1v1. I don't care who it is. Okay, he's going to pass it anyway. So the winger then is going to come back here onto their fullback. They cross it towards the far post. This should be defended. It is. It's going to keep going though. Oh, they get the ball through the centre of the pitch. We block it. Good. Okay, so the 3-2 is a problem once they get past the play out. So Leif Davis has been left 1v1 on that occasion. So we're going to go to tracking winger for Dominguez. We're going to definitely do that. I'm just going to start to use for the first time in the series some opposition instructions because I don't want to change the pressing central field players to anything else because I don't want to make them AMCs and make them trackers. I don't really want to do that. And I don't really want to mess with anything else in the structure. So if I'm happy with everything else and the way that everything else is pretty much going, we're going to put this on the DMs especially, right? But we know that one of them is going to go up. But I'm also going to put it on the fullback so that even if they change it around, whichever one goes into midfield, in those scenarios, they're going to get pressed and be more aggressive on them as well. Okay, they've got the ball. We cleared it quite aerially then. I'm not quite happy with that. McAllister's got it. Plays it into Salah. We've got 2v. This is better though, right? Even though he's just beating the winger, that's the winger that he's beating, not the fullback. That's Dominguez. Round of applause, lads. Referee, no danger there. That was a good. No, don't book him. In fact, I'm going to sub him off because he's tired apparently, and he's just got himself booked. So which one do we want on the left? Let's go Aideen on the left, and then let's put Dan James on the right hand side. Yeah, let's get the yellow carded player off for the 2v1s against Salah. We'll just make sure that isn't a red card scenario. Leave Davis into Aideen, who's going to go past the player, plays it into Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's got players with him. Aideen, you've got the pass right there. Please play that. Oh, come on, lads. Baldanzi, just shout for the ball, son. What are we doing? Get on it. Right, but Basuma plays it out wide. Okay, so this is what we want to see. This is exactly it. If Paulo Henrique is in the wide zone, going back to that pitch, so this is really good. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin he's got freedom to drop and get on the ball and create space and try and distort the back line. So he's doing that. He's dropped deep. The defenders haven't moved. That's absolutely fine for now. But that's the situation there. They've got a winger back here. They've got 2 players ahead of the ball. They've got the number 10 and striker just staying up. They're both basic. They're both out of the picture here, which is good. So if they've got 2 players out of the attack, we have got an overload somewhere. And as he goes through here, this player, I would really wish he just bloody play it into Baldanzi, but it's fine that he doesn't because it actually works out. Well, I haven't even seen the attack yet. I've only seen us play to the winger, but I just wanted to freeze it where it is. So it goes there into this player, and we're through. Calvert-Lewin can start making a run. Basuma would be making the other run, and we're sort of in. So he dribbles it across. He then plays it into Basuma, who drops a little bit to get on it, and then forces this defender to make a decision, right? So that's what's happened. And he's also attracted the attention of this player here. Then after he takes a touch and plays it wide, we've now got this situation where Paulo Henrique, Dan James could stay where he is, all right? He can stay where he is. We can play the ball to his feet and let Basuma try and make a run. There's quite a big distance there for him to go to. But we've also got like an overload. They've got 2 players staying up. Paulo Henrique is on the ball. It's a really good decision from Dan James to either try and be trying to get himself through on goal if it can be found. But if not, at the very least, go and get yourself in the half space. Go and get yourself in the half space, and then Paulo Henrique can come and be the player that's in the wide zone. We don't need 2 players to do this, right? So it's going to come out here. So now we've got Dan James is the player in the half space, and Basuma's here, and we've got an overload. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5 against. We've got 5v4 in here. Of course, it's going to be really hard. Like by the time you move the ball across, they're going to get back. But we've got a temporary overload. Unfortunately, Dan James has gone. I don't even mind if Dan James goes there. That's fine, but then Basuma's got to come out here. And what a shame for us that they both did that. But Dan James does get onto the board, plays it back into Anton Stack, into Baldanzi. He's got a bit of space. Plays to Dan James, who shoots. It goes just over the bar, but that's all right though. We got most of the concepts out in that moment. Okay, goal kick for Liverpool. So we're saying to them, you know which way it's going to go, lads. It's going to go this side. So they play it across. We shift up and press high. Good. Love that. I mean, that's just absolutely beautiful high pressing from the boys. Henrique gets it, plays it in to Dan James, and I love that. I love that little drop. Basuma keeps doing this, and I don't know why he does it specifically, but you see how he's starting to make his run. He tracks attention of Graham Birch, who goes with him, and then he checks back and gets on it. Like that's brilliant. That's a brilliant bit of movement to create space for himself. And now he's got. Please play that. No, Basuma, no. Just play Calvert-Lewin in. He was there. Basuma. Oh, I mean, that's a great pass, though. Bring it down. Finish it, Baldanzi. Have a shot. Oh, no, he's going to cut it back. Into Aideen. Oh, good bit of football. It could have been better maybe in the early phases, but you can see the building blocks, can't you? Of the not only the way that we're trying to play and the way the team plays, but also with a few little purchases of different players, with a few different players coming into the team, you can see how this team's going to hopefully end up playing. So we've got, that's the picture right there. You can all see the picture. He's going to play it into Robertson, into Chiesa. And we've won it with Anton Stack straight to Calvert-Lewin. It's got to be a goal, is it? Oh, what? We're good. We'll go through it one time together, right? We'll go through this one time together with this camera view. And then I need to see this closer up because this was like a perfect trap set. Right, so I want to, we're zoomed right up. We can see everything here. So Robertson's going to drop and get on it. Right, he does. That's fine. We then match up here and here. That's all looking good. They're playing to Chiesa. Chiesa tries to force it in to Verts, but Stack's there. He goes into Calvert-Lewin. Yeah, let's watch this. Let's watch this together in a closer camera angle. I mean, it doesn't look quite as easy, does it, when you watch it in this? But I just want to. I'm going to freeze it where he receives this and see if he could have done something else with it. So, I mean, obviously, it's easy to. The easiest thing in any analysis in any sport is to go, you see, you did it wrong. You should have done this. Like, yeah, great. Like, retrospective hindsight analysis is always easy. However, I'd still say this, even the situation, like, I guess he notices that Alisson is off his, like, and offset. So I can't blame him for doing this first time. I would just hope that when he gets here, he would try and take one touch, then try and leather it, maybe. Okay, and Stack gets the ball, plays the ball inside to Dan James into the half space, goes wide, cuts towards goal, plays it back across, but it's going to get a shot away. We should have scored. We've played really, really well in this game. Again, I feel like this is working extremely well against 4-2-3-1s. And as somebody pointed out in the last video, every time I say something like that, or I say something positive, inevitably what comes next is something bad. But that's not going to happen today, is it, lads? Just keep... We'll have to say that. We're building the attack here. We're going to find somebody. Leif Davis gets on it. He's going to play it back to the defenders, I'd assume, here. Or is he going to turn? He's got no pressure on him. Just turn, Leif. That's it. Just... Oh, you did the hard bit. You faced them up. We're going to go wide. Get wide now, please, Dan. Good lad. Half space run, please, somebody. No. Okay, back into Enrique. That's fine. Back into Stack. Baranzi. Play him in. Oh, it was there. Baranzi. Leif Davis, don't shoot. Good. Martinelli. Corey, what a goal this is going to be. Oh, no. Dan James has just missed it. I don't believe it. What a move that was. We deserve to win this, so I think that we're probably not going to win this. We've been really good out of possession. We've been really good in possession, and we've controlled the game. But football is not always a fair game. All they'll need is one chance, one of their attackers, and they could win the game 1-0. That's football, right? We've had a couple of chances to score here. And when you're a team that's not a title challenging team, you've got to take those chances because all you need is one chance for the opposition that they're probably going to get now. But Stacker's won it. Play him in. Oh, it was there. No. He had the opportunity, didn't he? And now he hasn't got it. We've got 2v1 here. We're okay. They play it through. It's a 1-2. Oh, no danger. And there it is. It's going to finish 0-0. So it's a good draw because it's, yeah, good point for us to get in the league table. But we played well. We created some good chances. A lot of their XG were chances from set pieces. They weren't like they were carving us open. It was a good performance overall. I'm pretty happy with that, to be honest. It's again, we got the draw, but we got the draw for the right reasons. It wasn't like we got away with one. We played really well. And I think that with slightly higher quality attacking players, we're going to really destroy teams in those kind of games. Like we're gonna finish off some more of those attacks and probably control the game slightly better, which will take chances away from the opposition. So it's going to all progress, I think, nicely once we get some different players in, which we're going to focus on in the next episode. Right then, Brentford away. It's been a good couple of games against Chelsea and Liverpool. This is going to be an interesting one. I don't know what formation they're going to apply, but we'll find out in a minute. Hey, mark this on your calendar, lads. We have got an excellent intake, apparently. So there's something to watch out for later in the season. We're going to get a starting goalkeeper, a starting pivot player, and a starting attacking midfield player by the looks of it. Big expectations for me now. Right then, opposition analysis. What we got here. Right, okay, 5-2-1-2. So a completely different formation to what we're used to playing. So it's going to be 5-2-1-2 in possession, 5-3-2 out of possession, which is pretty simple. All that's going to be out of possession. The number 10 is going to drop. He's going to go up and he's going to slide across. So you go wing back on wing back. Essentially, the two wingers go on the back line. That gets you your two pressing on the back line. Your striker and the most attacking midfield players, so Baranzi, they pick up the two pivot players. Bissouma drops in as a DM. One solution. The only other one I would do is using one of the fullbacks to stay narrow. So my right back would be the most defensive one. So your back three to play against the two would be those three. So right back, centre back, left centre back. It would mean he'd have to drop in onto the wing back. It would then leave Calvert-Lewin with one of the wide players. And then you end up with that. See, that feels a bit more natural to me for this one. But yeah, that feels more natural to me. So one of the wing backs goes high, the other one doesn't. The winger goes there. That, I think, works better. Same team, not making any changes there at all. So we're going to go striker comes over to the right. The left winger goes up there. You move up, you shift across one, you shift across one, and then you can drop one, but play as a pressing wing back. I could make him a tracking one midfielder, actually, instead. Maybe we can do that. It doesn't have to go back to wing back then, does he? Then I'll go wide centre back to Henrique. We'll keep the other two as orthodox ones. And we'll see how that goes, I guess. We'll go pressing wing back here as well to try and get some really early pressure on. Dominguez can be a normal striker. That looks right to me. We'll go with that and see how it goes. They are going to play the 5-2-1-2. Pressure's all on them, apparently. We'll just say that. The only thing to look out for early on is, do I need to make the right winger a wing back instead of a tracking wide midfielder? Like, is that causing us any problems with him not being an actual wing back? And we'll have to wait and find out. Not just, I mean, actually more from open play than goal kicks right now. So this is it, right? So the wing back's gone high, and what's he doing? He's getting involved in all sorts of nonsense over here. What are we doing? This is the threat, right? So straight away, we can see that's going to be a problem, and we're just going to say, no, thank you very much, but go and be one of those instead. Ribeiro gets it and plays it into Leif Davis with a trick pass, apparently. Okay, play it to the left side. Okay, good. We've got somebody in the half space here. Don't forget, they're playing the back three now, so it's going to be more difficult to get players in the half space because they're going to have naturally a player stood there in their actual setup. So that's going to be something different to potentially look out for. But then we have to think about our principles of trying to create different penetration, right? That's going to be the thing, is then how do you do it differently? And it might be that we try and draw them in and then try and get the wingers on the outside. That could be something that we do. And it could be that because they're playing a back five, we could be slightly more aggressive with the wing backs. Bonals gets it. He's going to play it across to... nobody's just going to run with that. Apparently, Paulo Henrique now playing as wing back is a bit higher. And I don't like the gaps between the players there. Aydin gets through. He's going to play it across goal. He's got it. He's brought it down. Plays it back to Henrique. Play it edge of the area. And Osaka gets a shot away. Deflected. And it's going to go for a corner. Dominguez on the left-hand side. He's a 1v1. He plays into Leif Davis, who's made that run into the half space. See, we've got different players making the penetration, which is just the scenario, right? It's about the principle. We want the principle of creating depth and penetration through the half space is what we're looking for. It doesn't matter who does it specifically. Enrique beats his on the outside, goes wide. He's got to play across goal. It's got to be a chance. He's going to shoot himself. It's going to be blocked by the keeper. Leif Davis gets a shot away, and it's going to be blocked by the keeper a second time. They're not even trying to play out, so we need to worry about that in this game. We're absolutely battering them for possession. We've got 68% possession against them, which is what I'd expect when they aren't playing out at all. As we lose the ball, are we going to win this back though? I don't like the lack of protection there. So like, if we just go back, I mean, it hasn't cost us yet, so I don't know if we need to fix this. But like, because Henrique is now so attacking, the problem is that our possession, he's supposed to be the 3 to make the 3v2. I guess we turned it back over. That's why I went wide again. So it might be all right. Just something to watch out for, though. Okay, we're struggling to break through their back 5. So what we're going to do here is... So there's 2 options here. Either I do this, right? Either I do Dominguez in there, Leif Davis goes there, or I can move him straight into that position there as like the playmaker. Although I'll just keep him as that. Yeah, so he's like an inverted wing back then, isn't he? I don't know which way to go with this. But then what I might do with that is Henrique might need to be more defensive, because when they're defending in a 3-5-2. So we can go 2 against 2 with ones in front, because it's 3v2, just one of them's in front. It is difficult to know how to use him in this. I might make him slightly more defensive to offset this now. Maybe Henrique goes in and does that. Maybe we could do that. Because then he's the right DM, and then when we turn over the ball, it means that he's going to be a lot closer to his out of possession position, right? That's what I'm thinking about as well. Yeah, so Henrique, if he's like there, he's only dropping to here as a right-sided centre-back. That actually might even be better for us from a structure perspective. Okay, Basuma gets it, plays it to Aydin. He's going to play it into Anton Stack, who's got, we've got an overload here, haven't we? We've got so many central players. We're trying to find here, really, as we've turned it over. No, right, I just want to go back and see why we turned this over. Nobody's really open for him. Baldanzi's there. Basuma's there. I mean, Henrique's just ran straight into the same space as him, and Aydin's then taking the player on. So that makes me think that maybe Henrique should just stay with what he was doing. I hope that's offside. Was it offside? No, it wasn't. They didn't deserve that. 1-0. I'm just going to change Leif Davis and Dominguez, like I mentioned. I might have done it this way anyway. So we'll go 2 shadow strikers on the outside. Balanzi can be an attacking field player. Maybe he can be playmaker, actually, because he can try and get on the ball a bit as well. So we'll try this. I might go to this as well when we're playing out. So we'll go to that sort of shape again and see if we can get the team out using like a wide 3 and then trying to move the team forwards from this position. Let's try that. We're going to go to our attacking formation. I'm going to change it. We're going to go to this so that we've got 2 players against the back 3, 2 pivots being picked up by those 2, 2 pressing fullbacks are going to pick up the wide players. It's going to be a 1-0 defeat. I feel like we should have done better in that game. We really struggled to create any penetration in the half space. So we definitely need to think about a in-possession solution that's better for 5 at the backs. Defensively, we did largely all right. Like, a lot of their XG was from us turning the ball over and stuff. Yeah, we found it hard to get the ball up. I think what I would do next time is I'd probably drop my DMs. I think what I'd do next time is probably drop my AMCs, or I'd maybe have one of them and have the other one being like a pivot player, so we can start off building up with 2, so we can build that attack slightly easier. We struggled, like the goal came from us not being able to build it, and then once we did build it, their 5 at the back was doing a lot better, coping with I guess essentially the front 5, right? The 2 wingers, the 2 10s, and the striker, because they're all sort of sat there in position already. There's not much movement, not much distortion in creating space and movement from the players. So I think next time what I would do is build with 2 and have somebody go and be an AMC late. And what you would get then is that late run going into the half space might be slightly better. We definitely control the game better, but it's the kind of thing that's good to go through in the first season with the team. Anyway, good result, good performance, followed up by a slightly disappointing one, but it wasn't a disaster, it was slightly disappointing, and they won the game. That game could have gone either way. Like, we could easily have won that 1-0. We had a chance, a really good chance actually. So again, looking at slightly better players would be useful, and I think that we're going to get that in the next episode. The next episode will be 2 matches and identifying the transfers. The episode after will be 2 matches and the whole January transfer window being concluded, and that'll take us nicely then into our final stretch of the season, starting off with the games in February. I'm really enjoying seeing some of the ideas that I've given the players and seeing it come out in the match engine. It's been really fun using the tactic system, using the roles. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I just want some slightly different players, especially in the attacking positions. I feel like we're not rewarded at times. Like, we aren't very clinical as a team. So if there's a game like that where the XG is relatively similar, we're always drawing and losing those games. Like, we could easily have beaten Liverpool, and we could have got 6 points there easily if we had slightly more clinical attacking players. I look at the match ratings as well from the defensive players, all good, and it sort of drops off a bit as you get further down the pitch. And it's the same sort of story again. 2 centre-backs and the pivot player playing well, everybody else. I mean, that was a really poor game from our attacking players. That's going to do it. I'll see you next time for the game against Liverpool. Let's identify some transfers and see which players we can get. Transfer budget is currently 27 million, so we've got a lot of money to spend.